Dr. Elena Reyes jolts awake at her desk as her quantum analysis algorithm blares an alert. On her screen, impossible data patterns in the cosmic background radiation she's been studying for years. The patterns pulse with mathematical precision, like Morse code transmitted through time itself. She blinks away exhaustion, straightening her glasses to study the readouts more carefully. 3 days of continuous monitoring had yielded nothing until now. The patterns shouldn't exist. Quantum fluctuations are supposed to be random, chaotic. These were structured, deliberate. Run diagnostic sequence. She commands the lab's AI system. Diagnostic complete. The synthetic voice responds. All systems functioning within optimal parameters. Elena runs her fingers through her unkempt hair. Then what am I looking at? The patterns continue to pulse across her screen, defying everything she knows about quantum physics. Each sequence repeats with minor variations, as if someone were trying different frequencies, searching for one that would connect. The next morning, Elena presents her findings to the Institute's board. The response is immediate and crushing. Patterns in quantum noise. Next you'll tell us the stars are talking, scoffs Research Director Harmon, a man whose scientific vision calcified decades ago. Dr. Rice, the Global Quantum Research Institute cannot continue funding what amounts to fringe science. It's not fringe science, Elena protests, pointing to her data. Look at the mathematical consistency. The signal-to-noise ratio is impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Your equipment is faulty, says another board member without looking up from her tablet. Or your methodology is flawed. Elena feels her career crumbling before her eyes. 10 years of research, dismissed in minutes by people who haven't set foot in a laboratory since the previous decade. You have until the end of the month to produce something tangible, Director Harmon concludes, or we'll be reassigning your grant and laboratory space. That night, Elena returns to the lab long after everyone has left. She moves methodically, selecting components from various projects. A quantum entanglement module from the particle physics department, a superconducting circuit from her own lab, processing cores from the supercomputing facility. Each piece disappears into her backpack. Her apartment transforms into a makeshift workshop. Kitchen table cleared, replaced by sensitive equipment. Bedroom wall covered in equations and diagrams. Refrigerator emptied of food, now cooling delicate superconducting components. For 72 hours straight, Elena works without sleep, subsisting on black coffee and determination. What she's building violates half a dozen theoretical limitations, a temporal receiver designed to detect and decode signals propagating backward through time. On the third night, as a thunderstorm rages outside her window, she makes the final connections. The lights throughout her building flicker and die as she diverts power to her device. The temporal receiver hums to life, emitting an unearthly blue glow. Elena attaches specialized headphones and holds her breath. At first, there's nothing but static, quantum noise from across the universe. Then, a voice emerges from the chaos, distorted but unmistakably human. Elena Reyes. Atacama. 23 Deg 5115s, 68 Deg 1230 Da. July 17. Come alone. The future of all humanity depends on what you'll find there. Elena's hands tremble as she adjusts the frequency, trying to clean up the signal. Who are you? She whispers. The voice becomes clearer, and Elena's coffee mug slips from her fingers, shattering against the floor in what seems like slow motion as the impossible truth registers. This is Dr. Elena Reyes, transmitting from July 17, 2223. 200 years in your future. Whatever you do, trust no one. They're already watching you, and they can rewrite time itself. Outside her window, the storm intensifies. Lightning illuminates her apartment in strobing flashes, revealing a figure standing motionless across the street, watching her window with eyes that reflect light like polished metal. This is insane, Elena. Even for you. Dr. Marcus Chen adjusts his pack as they trudge across the sun-baked Atacama soil. The driest desert on Earth stretches around them in all directions, a landscape so barren it's been compared to Mars. I could be analyzing actual data instead of chasing. You saw the scanner results. Alina interrupts, checking her GPS coordinates for the 10th time in an hour. Something is buried here that doesn't match any known geological formation. Marcus sighs. A mineral deposit, or perhaps ancient human artifacts, not messages from the future. Despite his skepticism, Marcus had agreed to accompany her. I need a witness, she'd insisted while showing him the readings from her homemade temporal receiver. Someone who'll believe me if this all goes sideways. As the department's most brilliant particle physicist and Alina's only friend at the Institute, Marcus couldn't refuse. 20 meters ahead, Alina announces, squinting through heat distortion. Whatever's sending the signal should be right. Here. They stop at coordinates 23 deg 5115s, 68 deg 1230. There's nothing but cracked earth and scattered rocks. Spectacular, Marcus deadpans. Perhaps your future self meant the coordinates as a metaphor. Alina ignores him, removing the compact temporal receiver from her backpack. The moment she activates it, the device begins vibrating violently, its display flashing with symbols she doesn't recognize. That's not supposed to happen, she murmurs, just as the ground beneath them trembles. A perfect circle of sand, 10 meters in diameter, begins to sink. Not collapsing inward but descending uniformly, like an elevator platform. Marcus stumbles backward with a startled cry. Alina stands transfixed as the sand disappears to reveal not a natural cave, but a precision-cut chamber, its walls lined with material that resembles polished obsidian, but feels like nothing she's ever touched. This isn't geological, Marcus whispers, scientific skepticism giving way to awe. And it's certainly not human archaeology. At the chamber's center stands a crystalline structure approximately 2 meters tall, a latticework of translucent material that pulses with internal light in exact synchronization with Alina's receiver. She approaches cautiously, noting how the crystal's glow intensifies with each step. It's responding to your presence, Marcus observes, keeping his distance, almost like it was waiting for you. Alina connects her receiver to the base of the crystal, where a perfectly shaped indentation matches her device. The air around them shimmers, molecules vibrating at frequencies visible to the human eye. A figure materializes, a woman with iridescent skin and eyes with hourglasses for pupils. Dr. Rice, finally, the figure says, her voice resonating from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to coordinate a meeting across 12 millennia? Marcus backs away in terror, but Alina holds her ground. Who are you? What is this place? I am Ambassador Thea of the Cronus Consortium. The figure glances at Alina's primitive receiver with something resembling amusement. Impressive craftsmanship, considering your technological limitations. Carbon dating later reveals the crystal has been buried for over 12,000 years. Yet its atomic structure shows manipulation at the quantum level, technology centuries beyond current capabilities. Your perception of reality is fundamentally flawed. Thea continues. Time is not a river flowing in one direction, but an ocean of possibilities, every moment existing simultaneously in an infinite array of potential states. Why contact us? Alina asks. Why Earth? Thea's hourglass pupils dilate. Because you humans are the most important species in the universe, and you don't even know why. She gestures, creating a holographic display of human and alien brain structures. Your brains are quantum anomalies, while every other sentient race perceives time as malleable and multidirectional. Humans stubbornly experience it as linear. She leans forward, her iridescent features intense. This neurological quirk makes you the only beings capable of decoding the temporal signals woven into the fabric of reality, signals that have been screaming warnings since the beginning of time itself. As Marcus stares in disbelief, Alina feels a strange sense of recognition, as if she's heard these words before, in a dream half remembered upon waking. Warnings about what? Elena asks, though deep down, she already knows the answer. About them, Thea whispers. The ones who are erasing entire civilizations from existence. The ones who can rewrite reality itself, and have already changed your timeline 17 times in the past week alone. Yesterday, there were 10,483 spacefaring civilizations in this galaxy, Thea tells Elena and Marcus as the crystalline chamber transforms around them. The obsidian walls become transparent, revealing a three-dimensional map of the universe, so detailed it makes Elena's breath catch. Countless points of light represent star systems, civilizations, and temporal nexus points. Today, there are 10,329. Thea continues, her voice hollow. By tomorrow, who knows? As they watch, lights representing entire civilizations blink out, not one by one, but in cascading patterns like dominoes falling across the cosmic landscape. What's happening to them? Marcus asks, his scientific skepticism crumbling as he witnesses the impossible. They're being erased, Thea explains. Not destroyed, erased. There's a crucial difference. The holographic display zooms in on a dying star system. A shimmering darkness engulfs a planet, and suddenly the star system reconfigures. The planet never existed. Orbital patterns adjusted perfectly to compensate for its absence. The Void Collective, Thea says, the words falling like stones. Beings composed of dark energy who exist in the spaces between moments. They don't merely destroy civilizations, they retroactively erase them from existence, creating paradox-free alterations where these species never evolved at all. Elena struggles to comprehend. But if they're erased from history, how do you remember them? Because we're time-sensitives. Thea replies. The Cronus Consortium developed technology to perceive and navigate the time stream. But even we can't keep up anymore. Her expression darkens. Every defense we build is simply undone by enemies who attack from before the defense existed. Holographic displays show battles being fought across time. Consortium ships launching attacks, only to flicker and vanish as the Void Collective alters the timeline so the ships were never built. But then we discovered something remarkable about humans, Thea says, her tone shifting from despair to cautious hope. The display changes to show comparative brain scans, alien minds beside human ones. When a Prothean experiences a timeline shift, their memories completely rewrite, she explains, showing a brain pattern dissolving and reforming. When Ixindi experiences one, they die from neurological breakdown. Another alien brain flashes red before going dark. But humans, Thea zooms in on human brain activity. When you experience timeline alterations, you get déjà vu, prophetic dreams, or unexplained intuitions. Your consciousness exists partly outside the time stream. She looks at Elena with newfound respect. The Void Collective finds this profoundly disturbing. They can't predict you. As if to demonstrate her point, the ground shakes violently. Dust falls from the chamber ceiling. Thea's projection flickers, her form destabilizing. They found us. She gasps, her image fragmenting. Retroactively planted detection devices centuries ago. Her form stabilizes suddenly as Elena steps closer to the crystal. Thea looks at Elena with surprise. Your presence just saved me, she says. They tried erasing this meeting from history 5 different ways in the span of milliseconds, but your temporal resistance anchored this moment. Marcus, standing near the chamber entrance, calls out in terror. Elena, something's happening outside. From his vantage point, the desert landscape is shifting between different geological formations like a flickering television. In one moment barren and flat, in the next mountainous, then covered with vegetation that shouldn't exist in the Atacama. Yet inside the chamber, Elena feels only a strange sense of multiple memories forming simultaneously, like remembering versions of herself that walked slightly different paths to reach this exact moment. This is why Earth is crucial, Thea says urgently. Your planet is the perfect hidden base for our last stand. The Void Collective can alter the physical universe around you, but they cannot easily rewrite human consciousness. The crystalline structure pulses more rapidly, its light synchronizing with Alina's heartbeat. They're attempting a major temporal incursion, Thea warns, targeting your planet's formation itself. What happens if they succeed? Alina asks, already dreading the answer. If Earth never forms, Thea replies grimly, humanity never evolves. And the last hope for preserving the true timeline disappears as if it never existed at all. The crystal flares blindingly bright, and both Alina and Marcus collapse to their knees as a wave of temporal energy washes over them. The first assault in a war fought not just across space, but across the very fabric of time itself. The crystal is emitting unprecedented levels of quantum activity, General Hammond announces, staring at the obsidian-walled chamber now housed within a hastily constructed military facility. 3 weeks have passed since Alina and Marcus's discovery in the Atacama. The world's governments have reacted predictably, with disbelief. Then panic, then militarization. Intelligence agencies fight for control of the crystalline technology. Political leaders debate whether the alien warning is genuine or an elaborate hoax. Alina stands before the UN Security Council, exhaustion etched into her features. Ambassador Thea's warnings are real. The Void Collective has already made 17 attempted alterations to our timeline. 17 claims without evidence, the Russian representative counters. Perhaps your ambassador could provide something more tangible than apocalyptic predictions. We can't afford to wait for. Alina begins, but her words cut off as every screen in the chamber flickers simultaneously. News feeds from around the world interrupt the proceedings, reports of a strange astronomical phenomenon visible worldwide. Then, without warning, every delegate, every human on Earth simultaneously collapses into REM sleep for exactly 3 minutes and 42 seconds. They all share the same nightmare, standing on Earth's surface, watching as the moon fractures like an eggshell. Massive chunks rain down through the atmosphere, cities burning, oceans boiling away. Every human on Earth experiences their own death, with perfect clarity minus 7.8 billion people screaming themselves awake at the exact same moment. When the Security Council recovers, the mood has transformed. It wasn't a dream. Alina tells the now attentive delegates, her voice steady despite her pallor. It was a timeline that almost happened, one the Void Collective executed, but then had to abandon. Evidence supports her claim. Astronomical data shows unexpected gravitational anomalies around the moon during those precise minutes, as if multiple realities were briefly superimposed. The attack failed because of humanity's temporal resistance, Alina explains. But they'll try again, using methods we can't anticipate. Within days, an international scientific coalition forms around Alina. Every resource imaginable becomes available as humanity faces an existential threat, unlike any in history. Alina leads a frantically assembled team to build a network of temporal receivers, converting everything from radio telescopes to MRI machines into a global detection system. When activated, humans plugged into this network can consciously witness timeline alterations happening in real time. In a repurposed CERN facility, Alina monitors the first large-scale test of the network. 500 volunteers from diverse backgrounds connect to modified receivers, their brainwaves synchronized through the crystalline technology. Focus on the temporal signals, Alina instructs through an intercom. Don't try to interpret them yet. Just let them flow through your consciousness. The volunteers' neural activity spikes simultaneously. On monitors throughout the facility, impossible data materializes. They're witnessing lost civilizations flickering in and out of existence, seeing technologies evolve along paths that were suddenly cut short. What happens next exceeds all expectations. A teenager in Legos disconnects from the network, hands trembling as she sketches a device she's never seen before. I remember operating this, she whispers. But it doesn't exist. A farmer in Nebraska describes in perfect detail the architecture of an alien city he's never visited. A physicist in Tokyo awakes from the network connection, with complete knowledge of a unified field theory developed by a species erased eons before humans evolved. We're becoming temporal sponges, Alina realizes, watching the phenomenon spread across continents. While other species can only exist in one timeline, humans absorb fragments of all of them. As the network expands, more humans develop this ability, accessing memories of events that never occurred, technologies that were erased, even skills they never learned. We're becoming living libraries of realities that never were, Alina explains to a gathering of world leaders. Her eyes reflect both wonder and determination as she adds, "And the Void Collective has no protocol for handling a species that remembers what they erase." Across the Pacific, the crystalline matrix pulses with new energy, responding to humanity's awakening temporal awareness, as if it had been waiting for this moment since it was buried millennia ago. The attack comes without warning. At precisely 3:14 a.m. local time, security systems and temporal research facilities across the globe register simultaneous breaches. Shadow-like entities materialize inside secure zones, humanoid shapes that move like liquid mercury, leaving cold burns on anything they touch. Security footage shows them moving with mathematical precision, as if following predetermined paths through time and space. Their targets: Alina, the crystalline matrix, and Earth's growing temporal defense network. At the Geneva Temporal Research Center, Alina rushes down a corridor as alarms blare. Behind her, two void agents slip through reinforced doors as if they were missed. Ahead, another materializes directly in her path, quicksilver hands reaching for her throat. Alina freezes, trapped, until a maintenance worker unexpectedly opens a side door, inadvertently providing an escape route that shouldn't have existed according to the facility's schematics. Similar near misses occur worldwide. A researcher steps away from her desk just before a void agent strikes. A critical server is moved for routine maintenance moments before its location is breached. Time and again, humans instinctively dodge threats they couldn't possibly know were coming. "They're using statistical algorithms to predict our actions," explains Ambassador Thea during an emergency transmission from the Kronos Consortium. Alina and her core team gather around the crystalline matrix, serving as their communication conduit. Every other species follows probability patterns when making decisions, Thea continues, her projection flickering with interference. "But humans," she shakes her head in amazement. "You operate on hunches, gut feelings, inexplicable impulses. Your temporal intuition makes your behavior fundamentally unpredictable." Military forces around the world engage the infiltrators directly. Conventional weapons prove largely ineffective. Bullets pass through the void agents as if they're partially out of phase with reality. But human unpredictability continues to thwart the attacker's perfect precision. "They're calculating where you should be," Thea explains, "but you're never quite where mathematics says you should be." The most stunning development, however, comes from unexpected quarters. As the attack intensifies, children begin displaying abilities that terrify and awe their parents. 6-year-old Madeline in Shanghai sketches detailed blueprints for a device that can stabilize quantum fluctuations. When engineers humor her by building a prototype, it actually works, creating bubbles of temporal stability that void agents cannot penetrate. 8-year-old Jamal in Cairo recites mathematical formulas for navigating 5-dimensional space, equations so complex that supercomputers struggle to process them. A classroom of third graders in Stockholm collectively builds a working model of a probability anchor using nothing but recycled electronics and modeling clay. When activated, it locks nearby humans into a single temporal state, making them temporarily invisible to the Void Collective sensors. Their minds aren't fully locked into linear time yet, Alina theorizes, observing these child prodigies at work. They're remembering technologies from futures that haven't happened, or that existed in erased timelines. Under the protection of these strange innovations, engineers construct devices operating by principles that defy conventional physics, shields that exist simultaneously across multiple probability streams, making them impossible to breach in any single timeline. communications arrays that transmit information through the quantum substrate of reality itself. In a secured facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Alina watches as 10-year-old Sophia Warren calmly directs PhDs in quantum physics through the construction of a temporal stabilization matrix. The child's eyes occasionally glow with the same internal light as the crystalline structure from the Atacama. "How do you know this will work?" a skeptical engineer asks the girl. Sophia tilts her head, considering. "I remember you asking me that question 9 different ways in 9 different timelines," she replies. "In 8 of them, I couldn't convince you. But in the 9th, I did. And that's the timeline where we survived." As Alina watches this exchange, she realizes humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology. It's their inherent unpredictability and ability to absorb knowledge that, technically, never existed at all. They wanted predictable targets, she murmurs to herself as the Void Collective's first assault falters against humanity's chaotic defense. Instead, they've awakened something they can't possibly calculate. 6 months after first contact, humanity transforms from hunted prey to formidable adversary. The Temporal Defense Initiative headquarters, a chaotic coalition of scientists, military strategists, and civilians from every nation, exists partially out of phase with normal spacetime, making it impossible to attack through conventional means. The facility appears as an ordinary mountain to outside observers, but inside spans nearly 30 kilometers of laboratories, training centers, and living quarters for the most temporally attuned humans on the planet. Alina, now General Reyes, stands before a quantum imaging display showing timeline disturbances across the galaxy. Her once academic demeanor has hardened into something more resolute. Countless timeline defense operations have taught her that theoretical physics takes on life or death significance when reality itself becomes malleable. The Void Collective has withdrawn from directly engaging Earth, she reports to the assembled War Council. But they've intensified erasure operations in 3 sectors. As the Council debates strategy, Alina notices something unusual in the neural monitoring data. During routine brain mapping sessions, the patterns displayed by creative professionals, artists, writers, musicians, mirror the quantum signatures of parallel timelines. She requests immediate analysis from a joint team of neuroscientists and quantum physicists. Their conclusion rocks the initiative to its core. Human creativity, our ability to imagine what doesn't exist, is actually our minds subconsciously accessing realities that could exist, Alina announces to her stunned team. When Shakespeare wrote his plays, when Mozart composed his symphonies, they weren't inventing. They were remembering possibilities. This revelation transforms their strategy. The TTI begins recruiting novelists, painters, composers, and even children with imaginary friends. They're connected to modified temporal receivers and asked simple questions. What do you see when you imagine the enemy's stronghold? What weakness comes to mind when you think about the Void Collective? In a repurposed theater, now serving as a temporal visualization center, comic book artist James Chen sketches with eyes closed, his consciousness linked to the crystalline network. His pencil moves with uncanny speed, producing detailed schematics of the Void Collective's chronospatial architecture, complete with a previously unknown vulnerability in their temporal shielding. Romance novelist Maya Lakari, connected to the network while in a trance-like state, dictates what seems like fiction, but describes the emotional patterns that drive the collective's hive mind, revealing psychological blind spots that could be exploited. 5-year-old Emma Watson's crayon drawing, created during a supposedly simple play session, accidentally maps the exact coordinates of a critical nexus point, a weakness in reality where timelines converge and become briefly accessible. They're not creating, they're receiving, Alina explains to Ambassador Thea during their next communication. Human imagination taps into the multiverse. Our artists and dreamers are natural temporal antennas. Armed with this impossible intelligence, humanity prepares for something unprecedented. A counteroffensive across multiple timelines simultaneously. Using technology reverse-engineered from children's remembered designs, the TDI constructs vessels capable of navigating the spaces between realities. Sleek crystalline ships piloted by teams of quantum physicists and fiction writers working in perfect harmony. The Cronus Consortium, long trapped in defensive positions, follows humanity's lead, abandoning their rigid mathematical approaches for more intuitive strategies. Their first joint operation targets a nexus point where the Void Collective has already erased 3 civilizations. Launched from Earth's temporal shielding, the strike force enters the quantum foam between realities. They navigate not by coordinates, but by the emotional resonance of lost species, the echo of lives that should have existed. For the first time in the cosmic war, the Void Collective's perfect record of erasures breaks. Humanity not only halts a timeline collapse, but impossibly reverses one, literally bringing an extinct species back into existence by reinforcing the probability streams where they survived. As the once erased Lyraxian civilization flickers back into reality, billions of conscious beings suddenly existing again, Alina receives confirmation of 3 more successful restorations across distant sectors. "We've pushed them back," she tells her exhausted but triumphant team as they return to Earth. For the first time in this war, they're on the defensive. The crystalline matrix at the heart of their operations pulses with new intensity, as if sensing the shifting tide of a conflict fought not just for humanity's survival, but for the integrity of reality itself. "We've tracked them to their source," Alina announces to the assembled council of Earth's leaders and representatives from the Cronus Consortium. Holographic displays show a swirling anomaly at the edges of known space, a place where reality itself breaks down. The cosmic nexus point, Ambassador Thea confirms, the theoretical location where all timelines converge into a single point of potentiality. The journey to this cosmic nexus requires technology beyond anything humanity has ever attempted. A ship that can travel not just through space, but through the substrate beneath reality itself. For 3 feverish months, engineers work from designs pulled from 1,000 remembered futures, building the vessel Cronus Pathfinder. Its hull incorporates elements from the crystalline matrix, allowing it to maintain cohesion as it slips between realities. Its navigation system relies on the combined intuition of quantum mathematicians and temporal-sensitive children working in tandem. On launch day, Alina addresses the hand-picked crew of 23 scientists, soldiers, and creative sensitives representing Earth's diverse population. "We don't just fight for humanity," she tells them, her voice steady despite the enormity of their undertaking. "We fight for the integrity of time itself, for every species that was, is, or could be." The Pathfinder slips beneath the quantum foam of existence, entering a realm where conventional physics holds no meaning. The crew experiences horrors and wonders beyond comprehension. Regions where cause and effect reverse themselves. Spaces where time flows like liquid in multiple directions simultaneously. Echoes of civilizations that technically never existed. 3 crew members are lost, not to death, but to temporal dissolution, their consciousnesses scattered across infinite probability streams, becoming one with the multiversal fabric. When they finally reach the nexus point, a swirling maelstrom of pure potentiality that exists before the separation of space and time, Alina and her remaining team prepare for the final confrontation. "We'll only get one chance," she reminds them as they don specialized intervention suits. "If we fail, there won't be a timeline where we exist to try again." They step into the nexus, expecting to find the monstrous enemies they'd fought across 1,000 timelines. Instead, they discover something heart-wrenching. Ghostly, translucent beings huddled around a dying spark of light. "We are the last," explains their leader, a shifting mass of dark energy that approximates a humanoid form. "The final survivors of the universe that existed before your own." Through a series of telepathic exchanges that overwhelm conventional language, Alina experiences their memories, a cosmos of beauty and wonder. Trillions of interconnected species, technological and spiritual harmony, all erased in an instant when their universe began its final collapse. We didn't escape death, the leader explains, its voice resonating directly in Alina's consciousness. We escaped into non-existence, into the void between realities. We watched your universe blossom from the death of our own. The truth stuns Alina to her core. Every moment of your existence is built upon the annihilation of everything we ever loved. The being continues. Our mission wasn't random destruction, but desperate preservation. We believe that by unraveling specific timelines, we could reverse cosmic entropy and restore our lost reality. Images flood Alina's mind. Countless attempts to rewrite causality, endless calculations seeking the perfect sequence of timeline alterations that might reignite their extinguished universe. You're not destroying. You're trying to save, Alina whispers, understanding blossoming within her. But in your desperation, you've caused exactly what was done to you, adds Dr. Kiyoshi, the expedition's philosopher. Genocide on a cosmic scale. In a moment of profound empathy that surprises even herself, Alina reaches out both literally and metaphorically to these beings who have caused so much destruction. She understands. Humanity's greatest strength isn't their resistance to temporal manipulation, but their capacity for comprehension across boundaries, even the boundary between universes. There must be another way, she says, not as a threat or demand, but as a recognition of shared suffering. A way that doesn't require erasing trillions of consciousnesses to save your own. As the void beings consider her words, the nexus point pulses with new energy, as if time itself holds its breath, waiting for a decision that will shape the fate of not one universe, but all possible realities. The Cronus Pathfinder returns to Earth carrying both human survivors and representatives of the Void Collective, beings who must be contained in specially designed temporal fields just to maintain cohesion in our reality. Their shimmering, half-transparent forms provoke fear and hostility among those who have fought against their erasure attempts. World leaders prepare for war. Military commanders demand preemptive strikes against what they view as infiltrators. The Cronus Consortium advocates for the collective's complete destruction, arguing that no peaceful coexistence is possible with beings who exist outside conventional spacetime. Alina fights for an unprecedented third option. The universe isn't zero-sum, she argues before a global congress of scientists, military leaders, and representatives from the restored alien civilizations. Reality isn't a finite resource we must battle over. Drawing on both scientific understanding and the collective wisdom of humanity's artists, philosophers, and dreamers, Alina proposes something revolutionary: temporal symbiosis. We've been thinking of time as a straight line or a branching tree, she explains, projecting models that illustrate conventional understanding of temporal mechanics. But what if it's more like an ecosystem? What if multiple realities can coexist in a state of quantum harmony? The plan requires converting Earth's network of temporal receivers into something far grander, a metaphysical architecture that spans the planet and extends into the quantum substrate of reality itself. Every human on Earth must participate, their unique temporal resistance forming the foundation of a bridge between universes. Many dismiss the proposal as idealistic fantasy. You're asking us to trust beings who tried to erase us from existence, the Chinese premier objects. I'm asking us to be better than our enemies, Alina counters, to find a solution they couldn't imagine. Support comes from unexpected quarters, the temporal sensitive children who have become humanity's greatest asset in the conflict. I've seen it working, declares 10-year-old Sophia Warren, addressing the assembly with preternatural confidence. In 17 possible futures, this is the only path where both universes survive. For 72 hours, Earth exists in a state of quantum superposition. Strange auroras pulse in geometrically perfect patterns across the sky. The laws of physics flex and bend. Children worldwide spontaneously speak in languages that never existed. And in secret facilities around the globe, the remaining members of the Void Collective merge with specially designed crystalline matrices, exact duplicates of the one found in the Atacama Desert years earlier. It was never a warning system, Elena realizes as the final connections are made. The crystal was the solution all along, sent back in time by us, containing the quantum imprint of the Void Collective's consciousness, creating a perfect temporal loop. When the process completes, the result defies all expectations. The Void Collective now exists within a layer of reality just tangential to our own, able to observe and